It's kind of crazy to think that we're like already on episode 8 of Boku no Hero Academia, because to me it still feels like this series just starting, but we only have like 5 episodes left. To me, that right there, it's kind of crazy. But this episode, it definitely lost that intensity that we had last week, but that's because we had this fight between, Izuku and Katsuiki, and that fight right there was definitely going to happen. But this week episode, it was more like a cool down, but at the same time, we saw a lot of awesome quirks, and to me, that right there was pretty dang impressive. Now, some quirks, they definitely stand out more in my opinion, and to me, the character that I definitely have my eyes on at the moment, that right there is the one with the quirk, half hot and half cold. Now obviously we learn a lot of characters' names, and so while I get familiar with them, forgive me if I mess them up, but for the most part, at least for this review, I'll probably refer to them by their quirk powers. And so after, Izuku and Ochako won their little match against Tenya and Katsuiki, we see now how Katsuiki, like thinking back on their fight, we see now how Izuku actually predicted that right hook of his. So that right there is what allowed Izuku to defend against that attack so well, because he knew what was coming. And so we see now that, all this pride, this big ego that Katsuiki has built up from a young age, it was now crumbling down, because we could see him now in like a very fragile state at first, because he was thinking if him and Izuku, for all out, this right here was not, toward a certain goal, would that mean that, Izuku would win because he would know all of his moves? And so now, thinking about that, we have All Might, trying to like somewhat comfort him, but we see how Katsuiki was like pretty quiet for the most part in the episode, and we see now that when they all regroup, because we have Izuku, who was now on his way to the nurse office, because obviously he had a broken arm and a very badly burnt one, so he definitely needed immediate medical care. And so now going back to the other students, we see now how All Might was like asking them, no, we have All Might, telling them how Tenya here, was like pretty much like the best one, doing that little exercise. And so right now, we have to do this wondering, why is that? Because, it would make more sense for it to be the winner, Ochako or Izuku. And so now we have one student, and her name was Momo, and apparently, this girl, she has like quite the reputation, because she's one of the students who was like sent to the UA, based on recommendations. And so right now she was going on how both Izuku and Katsuki, both of them kind of messed up, because they used, like very big attacks in this small space, and that right there was like way too reckless. And then when it came to Ochako, she also was like very reckless with her last move, but at the same time, she had dropped her guard in the middle of that training exercise, because, she was laughing at Tenya and the way he was acting while he was like mentally getting himself prepared, as a villain. And so right now, Tenya here was the one who was like, who did this job correctly, because he had stayed by the bomb and was like protecting it. And so that right there is kind of like why he was the best. And so Momo, she has said so much, it was like kind of funny, because even All Might was like caught off guard by that. But then we see like the other students, going through it. Like we saw some of them show off their quirk. Like we had the invisible girl who apparently can render herself almost completely invisible except for like her gloves and her boots. And then we have like one guy who has like fur on his body or something, but we see that like he had a tail. And so then we have an arm guy, and we learned that how his quirk is called like dupli arms, something like that. But apparently, with these like webbed arms of his, he can pretty much recreate any part of his body. And at the same time, like seeing him make an ear or a mouth, because already this quirk kind of like freaks me out because we have like this webbed or like this webbed arm human looking thing, but it just seemed to become those different parts. To me that right there kind of like got me a little bit. But then going back to the starting episode, in my opinion, with it like half hot and half cold, he was like telling partners to like leave the building because when he touched the wall, the building was like frozen instantly. And then we have the invisible girl who was like, like coming to them, in an ambush, to actually capture them. She was like stopped in her tracks because her feet, they were like frozen to the floor. And so then we see that when he made his way to the bomb, and we have that one guy, protecting it, we see him now getting in a fighting stance as we saw his tail, being raised. And so right now, we have the boy telling him, he can fight, but at the same time, the skin on his feet will like be ripped off, and that way he cannot fight his best. And so pretty much that right there, gave him the win because this guy was like going to be smart, not get himself that injured, and that right there allowed Ice Boy over here to actually touch the bomb and give him the win. And so at the same time now we learn how how one hand, it can freeze almost anything, and the other one can like burn anything, because when he melt all that ice, apparently that water, it was like pretty freaking hot. And also, they also said that the temperature that he can reach, with his powers, that right there is unknown. And to me, that right there is insane. So at the same time, his power does seem very OP because we have no idea what to like, gauge it at. But at the same time, seeing him freeze, stuff, instantly, that right there is like Sub-Zero. So I do wonder, like just how hot can like make things, because if that right there can reach the highest point, which is like the sun, this guy is just way too good. But at the same time, he also was one of the recommended students. So right now, him and Momo, we should like definitely keep our eyes on. And so after seeing the other students go, unfortunately, we cannot see them, get the bomb, but we did see a little bit of their power, because another one who I thought was like very interesting, it was Crowboy, because I thought maybe, that right there will like be a quirk, becoming a crow, like a humanoid crow. But we saw like the shadowy arms, come out from like his cape, and to me that right there also seemed, like a pretty awesome quirk. So I do want to learn more about him. We already that frog girl, her quirk is like obvious. She becomes like a frog, with like her tongue and her limbs, I'm guessing. And I think that right there was like pretty much it. Oh, we had like now I'm not sure what she is. She's like some kind of like bug girl, but apparently she can like use like this slime, and that right there allows her to like glide on the floor. And we see now how some of this slime actually got on Naval Boy, cape, and that right there was like melting it. So not only can she like glide on it, at the same time it's also an acid. And to me that right there would be very, very devastating if that right there actually touched someone. And so after like it was done, like pretty much everybody did a good job. All Might was like praising them, but at the same time his limit was like fast approaching. And so he was like telling you students how he was like going to share the results with Izuku, and we see him now how he like ran off. And so pretty much everybody was like watching him, and some of them were like wondering why he was like in such a hurry. But All Might was like also thinking about Katsuiki, because we see now, or it looks like he was like down, like he was down in the dumps for pretty much the entire episode. And so we see now, that's the real reason why All Might was like running. It's because he was like at his limit. And so we see now that behind closed doors that were like for staff only, he had went back to like his normal state. And so now he was saying how one class pretty much make him reach his limits. And like at the same time, that right there is insane, because I do recall him saying how he can only be in his hero mode for like 3 hours. And so that training exercise went on for that long. That right there is kind of crazy. But I do wonder if this right here will be like a regular thing for him, where they do various exercises, or maybe they might be in a classroom, because that right there could be better, because at the same time, that right there will like him plenty of time, because there is no way, he could like give a lecture or something for like 3 hours. That right there would be, like way too long. But now going back to All Might, we see him now in the nurse office, back in like normal form, and we learn now how only, a very small number of people know about, like One for All, and about what All Might did. So apparently the ones who know about it is the nurse recovery girl, the principal, like a few close friends, and Midoriya. That right there is an insanely, small group. And we also learn how Izuku, he cannot be healed right away, because he just came there yesterday, and apparently, this guy was like completely exhausted. So right now she had done some first aid, but he definitely wasn't healed, to 100%. And we see now that when Izuku finally woke up, the school day was over, and we see him now walking back to a class, where we see how all of these students were like coming up to him, because they were like so freaking impressed, because he had went one-on-one with the guy who was like number one doing the entrance exam. And so right now they were all, they were all being so friendly. We learned their names, and apparently like Crowboy over here, this guy is a loner, because he was saying how, they were too loud, but at the same time he was like sitting on the desk. And then we have Tenya, coming up to him, and we see him now trying to get him down, but he was like moving his arms like a crazy person, because like there was just so much movement in them. We have like these other students, calling him out on it, and to me that right there was like kind of funny. But pretty much like everybody was there except for Katsuiki, and we have Izuku wondering where he is. And so now we have Ochako, telling him how Katsuki had left without saying a word, because people were like trying to stop him, but he just got up and left. And so we see now that when Izuku finally caught up to him and they were talking, Izuku was like, he has something to tell him, because all this time Katsuki was like thinking how Izuku was like tricking him and lying him about being quirkless when he really had one. But Izuku, kind of like told him the truth, saying how this quirk, how he borrowed it from like someone else. It was not really his, and like he has not mastered it yet, which is why he did not want to use it, because he had wanted to be Katsuki with like his own strength. But in the end, he had to rely on it to win. And so right now we have Katsuki, who was still thinking that that Izuku might be lying, trying to make a fool out of him. And we see now how in Katsuki's mind, not only did he agree with like Momo early on, but apparently when he saw the half hot and half cold guy, he was thinking how he can't beat him. But at the same time, this right here, this ego of his, it might have come down some, but Katsuki's resolve, to be the strongest, it could not be any stronger, because now he was saying how, he was like just getting started, that apparently, he'll be number one. And so this right here is definitely not over between him and Katsuki. I mean, and Izuku, because once Izuku, like mastered this quirk, I would love to see, a round two between them, because that right there would be great. And so apparently where we have Katsuki, leaving, All Might appeared out of nowhere. And at first I thought, he was there for Izuku, but no, he was there for Katsuki. And so now where we have All Might trying to like comfort him, he was like way too late, because Katsuki was like, let me go. And we see him now with like, a few tears in his eyes, because Katsuki was saying how one day, he'll surpass, even All Might. And so that right there was like kind of funny, because we have even All Might saying how being a teacher is like, pretty tough. And so now we have All Might talking to Izuku, wondering exactly what did Izuku tell Katsuiki. And so right now I have a feeling that that All Might definitely might have overheard them talking, because he was like, tell me in detail. But at the same time, we have Mina, Ochako, and Tetsu. Not really sure how to say her name yet, but we have the Frog Girl. They were like watching, Katsuki and Izuku, talking, and apparently they overheard them. So right now, they kind of know Izuku's secret as well, and so I do wonder if they all believe him or not, about that quirk, being borrowed and not really being his. But regardless, now the biggest bombshell in the episode, it was definitely the ending, because we see that all these villains in the bar, and these villains they were definitely shown in the opening. So apparently they know that All Might is now a teacher at the UA, and so apparently, they were like, what is this symbol of hope? Or what this symbol of peace? This natural born hero is killed by a bunch of villains. And so right now it's definitely obvious that they'll be attacking the school, and that right there would not be a bad, that right there would not be a bad note to end the this season on, because to me, I definitely want to know what is with this guy and all the gloves, grabbing onto his body, because right now that right there is a big mystery that I'm definitely curious about. But like I said, this episode was good. Obviously, even though it definitely wasn't intense as last week, it was still a darn good episode. This right here for a solid 8, for an episode, in my opinion. So I definitely liked it. But of course, let me know what you guys thought. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Quickly helps me out. And as always, you guys take it easy. I will see you all next time.